Welcome to Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help educate you about narcissistic abuse because your feelings do matter. Hi, and welcome to another podcast of Narc Abuse No More with your host, Dr. and Evangelist K.O. Rich. Thanks for tuning in today. Today is Friday, March the 24th of 2023. I pray that you've had a blessed, stress-free, narcissistic-free, abuse-free week so far, and that the remainder of this week will continue to be so as well. But if not, we're going to be talking about a few things today. Again, my name is Dr. K.O. Rich with Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Yes, they do. But before we go on with today's podcast, I'd like to invite you to visit us on our website at www.narcabusenomore.org. Again, that website address is www.narcabusenomore.org, or you can type, actually, it's just that one address now. We are on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, Castbox, and Deezer. We're also on Amazon, Audible, Rumble, Brighteon, and The Tube. That's right, we're on YouTube. Now, if all else fails, you can go directly to our website. For my SoundCloud subscribers, if you are not seeing all of the content or the podcasts that are being posted on SoundCloud, please go also to another app and you'll be able to get all the content if you are not seeing only a limited amount on SoundCloud, because we're on the free version when it comes to SoundCloud. And just to let you all know, please also subscribe to YouTube. You can catch all the podcasts that we have done over the years on YouTube, and none of those are being scrubbed. All right, what are we talking about today? We are talking about true stories of the abused. True stories of the abuse. Sometimes it's easy to see things on the news and think, oh, well, that's just something that's on the news. But these are real stories that many people have gone through when it comes to abuse. And I like to do this cafe segment when it comes to abused individuals and read their stories. Why? Because it lets us know that it can happen to anyone. And these people who are giving their stories, they may have thought at one point that, hey, it wasn't going to happen to me, but then they became the one that was abused. So I want to read this first one, and this is Patricia's story of abuse. And she says, I met a man that I thought was the man of my dreams on February the 17th, 2010. It instantly turned into a nightmare. He was cheating a week after we said I do. I confronted him about it, and he punched, kicked, and stumped me over and over again. Later on in our relationship, he would do it for simple reasons like a small argument or disagreement, then walk away, walk around our apartment and break everything. Then he apologized. I would forgive him, then not even a week later, the same thing. One time, I kicked him out the house for beating me, and he kicked in the door and beat me again. He literally held me hostage in our bedroom so I couldn't go to work. He told me that he would make me lose my job and apartment because he had neither, and he did. He promised he would change over and over, but he never did. I ended up with another job and another apartment. But I almost lost those too. I decided to leave him and file for divorce because he kicked in this apartment door and my boss called me into her office because of my attendance. Please comment below, and this is coming from verbalabusejournals.com. verbalabusejournals.com. So this woman named Patricia, she had met this man, and I don't know how long they dated, but she met him in 2010, but it turned out to be a nightmare. And she said a week after they got married, he was cheating on her. That's one sign of abuse. Rather, even if they don't physically abuse you, because not all cheaters lay hands on you, but the thing is, that's a form of emotional abuse. If you think that, oh well, because the person is not putting their hands on you, that you're not going through abuse, think again. Abuse comes in many forms. And so therefore, he cheated on her a week after they said I do. And not only did he cheat, when she confronted him about it, he got physical with her. Let me just say this, because she goes on to say later on in their relationship, which means that she did not leave him the first time he put his hands on her. I want to just say this to you today. If you are dating someone that has ever raised their hand to hit you, you need to cut that relationship off. Because what will happen is, once you continue dating them and they have already laid their hands on you, if you marry them, it's going to be a constant daily. I don't care if it's daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, yearly. One time is too much. Oh, they often say, oh, I'm sorry, I will never do it again. I was just angry. I was going through stress. You look what you made me do, or whatever the case may be. But the thing is that no one has the right to put their hands on you. So if they do it one time, they're going to do it again. Why? Because by allowing them to not have any consequences after the first time, they feel that they've had a rite of passage. That one time, that first time was a test. That was a test to see how far they can go and what you would do afterwards. The next time is going to be their validation to say that I can continue this type of behavior. Do not take it for granted. One time is too many. It is so important to have the mindset, which I have this mindset. You lay a hand on me one time, that will be your last time. There's no I'm sorry's. There's no I won't do it again. You lay a hand, you put a weapon up to my head, you do anything, you cheat on me one time. That's it. See, so many times, and this is especially with women, you'll say, oh, well, if they cheat on me once and I forgive them, and then, no, because you're going into it with a get out of jail free pass from the initial start. You have to set boundaries. And we just talked about this in a previous podcast, and we've talked about it before. You have to set boundaries. When you get into a relationship with someone, you let them know, you hit me one time, that's it. You cheat on me one time, that's it. Don't think that, oh, it's going to be I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. Oh, it was a mistake. No, yes, it will be your mistake. Your mistake is when you do it, you made the mistake of knowing or thinking that I was going to stick around. You have to set these boundaries. And if someone has hit you, please do not give them the opportunity to do it again. Many women are dead today, and I'm using women because it happens to men too, but many women are dead today, and some of their children, because they did not leave when that person first hit them. The first slap, the first punch, the first kick, the first bite, whatever they've done to you, you should have left then. Don't give them the opportunity to be able to put you in a grave, cause you to lose your job, cause you to lose everything you work for. Because when you're dealing with these type of abusive individuals, these toxic, narcissistic individuals, they don't care about you. They only care about themselves. They're selfish, and they don't care about your feelings or what they do to you. So I encourage you, and I want to, before we continue on, I want to give you the information to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and that is www.thehotline.org, www.thehotline.org. That is their website, again, to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can also call 1-800-799 7233. That's 1-800-799-SAVE. TTY callers 1-800-787-3224. You can also text the word START to text the word START to 88788. That's START to 88788. Don't be a victim. Be empowered and know that you are not alone. One thing that abusers like to do, they like to isolate their victims to make you feel as if you are alone. And don't think that it can't happen to you. Domestic violence, abuse can happen to anyone, any sex, any religion, any economic status, any educational status. It doesn't discriminate. It happens to anyone. It can happen to anyone. So therefore, don't think that it would never happen to you. If you are dating someone or you're married to someone who is abusive, please get out of that relationship as safely as possible. And don't let their flying monkeys try to keep you in the relationship or feel guilted into staying in an abusive relationship. If you are a woman and you are in an abusive relationship, married or not, get out. The time to do so is before you say I do, but definitely if you're married to them, don't think, oh, it's too late for me to leave. Get out as soon as possible, as safely as possible. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in just a moment.
Of your hand makes my pulse react. That it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. What's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? It may seem to you that I'm acting confused when you're close to me. If I tend to look dazed, I read it someplace. I've got cause to be. There's a name for it. There's a phrase that fits. But whatever the reason, you do it for me. Oh, what's love got to do? It's got to do with it. What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do? It's got to do with it. Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken?
That is by Tina Turner. What's Love Got to Do with It? And if you all ever heard the story or watched the Angela Bassett and Tina Turner's biography, she went through some things, and she went through a lot of things, and one of them was abuse from her husband, who Ike Turner, who was and it seemed like in many ways jealous of her success. And so if you watch that movie, I would suggest that if you are going through any type of abuse, that you will watch that movie. I think it's called What Love Got to Do with It, and it's played by Angela Bassett, and it gives the story of Tina Turner and when she was I forget the group that they had formed, her and Ike Turner, but I think it was Ike and Tina, and he wanted to make sure that he was known first. But the thing is that abusers, they want to dominate, they want to control, they want to diminish your self-esteem, your sense of worth, your sense of value, and they can only do so if you allow them to. And so therefore, you definitely, if you're in a situation like that, you want to make sure that you get help as safely as possible. Talk to someone whom you can confide in. We're going to actually read this next one, and this is another story of someone that's abused. And the last one we read was Patricia, but this one is by Sharon. And here's Sharon's story. This was a long distance online relationship. My boyfriend was so charming at first. He seemed to really go out of his way to find out what made me tick, and to be that perfect romantic man who promised to take care of me and heal all my past hurts. I got such promises that he had these huge real estate deals coming in. He was unemployed and I was paying for everything from a distance. And everything kept getting delayed until I realized it was all just lies. When I started to question things, it would escalate into a fight. I would be called whore, slut, the C word, any one of those three, disease B, etc. Told how my ex-husband, whom he never met, was right about everything and I was poison. Then he would alternate and say he was sorry and that he loved me and I am a goddess and everything he dreamed of and so beautiful, etc. On top of that, he was so jealous. I had a Facebook account that had over 3,000 friends on it that I spent years building up. He demanded I close it because other men gave me compliments on it, which apparently made me a Facebook whore, according to him, saying it was him or the account, which he was connected to, by the way. He would text me all the time asking me what I was doing, what my plans were, etc. We use Viber to message as it's free, and that showed your location. And if I was somewhere he didn't recognize, I got all kinds of questions. I also got threats about exposing me to my friends and telling my work what kind of person I was. This was a new job I had started, and even threats about my custody with my son. This all started to wear me down, this non-stop cycle. I didn't know what to believe anymore, and I felt so tired, depressed, and horrified that the person who he said he loved so much would treat me the worst anyone ever had. I'd alternate between getting mad at myself for allowing it and getting mad at him. And the worst of it, it was making me angry. I started to say nasty things to defend myself. In short, sinking to his level, like a wounded animal who was lashing out. And it was all useless anyway. All he wanted was a puppet who would sit there and listen to his abuse. He never wanted to look at himself or his action. but wanted you to feel so bad about who you were. One day, after a day of senseless name calling, I had enough, and that fueled me to break the cycle. I asked him, what really is the point of your verbal abuse? Do you want to drive a person to hate themselves so much from your words they kill themselves, or so you can feel good and righteous? I then changed my phone numbers, blocked him from my emails and anything I was connected to him on. And here I am finding solace with others have gone through something similar and just came out fine. So you have this Sharon, and she's in this long distance relationship online. And let me just say this, be careful about online dating. Nowadays we live in dangerous times, and sometimes the person you may be thinking you're dating online may not even be the real person, because anybody can put up anybody's picture these days, for one. I don't think, it seemed like they never met. I don't know if they actually met in person. But the thing is, she said he seemed charming at first. And one thing, when you're dealing with an abuser, they do not come out as an abuser at first sight. They're very charming. We often talk about this when you're dealing with narcissistic personality disorder. They're very charming at first, but then you start seeing the monster underneath the skin. He made promises. He told her he was doing this and doing that, only to find out that they were all lies. And then he will call her names. Why? Because when you don't conform to whatever the abuser wants, the next thing they're going to do, outside of physically abusing you, is call you names. So therefore, let me just say this, he probably would have been physically abusing her if he had been in the same geographical location as she was. One thing that is so important is to recognize the signs. This is why we talk about the different signs when it comes to abuse and narcissism and all these different other things that go with that. Because the more that you educate yourself, the more that you can be alert and prepared in the event someone was to come your way with these particular type of qualities. He would tell her that he was sorry and that she was just the best thing to him. But see, that's that love bombing, when they'll tear you down and then at the same time try to make it seem as if, oh, you're just, so wonderful, so beautiful, so loving, give you all the attention and give you the words and things that you want to hear. But at the same time, they don't mean it, because they are an abuser. He tried to isolate her from her friends on Facebook, and this is one of the tools that's in the arsenal of an abuser, is that they want to isolate you from everyone. They want to have control. He had to know where she was, wherever she was, and then he also threatened her. You have to be also careful with what you tell people. If this person is an abuser, they will use whatever they can to harm you. This is why we've often said, and we often read your Miranda rights on here, you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say can and will be used against you in the court of the narcissist. Don't tell everyone everything off the onset. He knew about her ex. He knew about the custody of her child. He knew about her job. He knew about her friends. He knew too much for someone, especially to be in a long distance relationship with, that you have never maybe even met in person. The thing is that the good thing is she realized it. This was after she had also sent money to him. Let me just say this, ladies, and this is not to be sexist in any way, but if a man is asking you to supply his bills, come on now. Because men are supposed to be the ones that are to look after you as well. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a mutual respect or anything of that nature, but in the initial onset of that dating relationship, if he's asking you for money, he's asking you to pay his bills, he's making excuses as to why he's not working and all that, all of those things are red flags. Come Come on now, red flags. If a man is asking you for money, to borrow money from you, that means that he is not situated. Look for the signs. Don't allow it to be too late when you do. And the good thing is she got out of the relationship. It's better late than never. But she got out of the relationship. And she knew that she was all the better for it. All right, we're going to take another quick break and we'll be back in just a moment.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I'm held when I am falling short. And when I don't belong, oh, you say I'm yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe the only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I'm held when I am falling short. When I don't belong, oh, you say I'm yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. Taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. You say I'm held when I am falling short. When I don't belong, oh, you
right, so we are still talking about abuse and the real life stories of those who have been abused. This next story is from Kendall, and here's Kendall's story. It's still hard for me to come to terms with the fact that I was actually in an abusive relationship. I always thought I was a stronger person than that. It wasn't until I talked about my relationship with my mom and a close friend that they told me what was happening. I've been with this guy for over a year, and I'm left only a shadow of my former self. I've lost my self-confidence in who I am. I have to start over and pick up the pieces and try to move on. Looking back, the only way to describe how it started was that it seemed like he was testing the waters early to see what he could get away with. At first, it was just a hurtful joke about my body, followed by a comment like, "I'm just concerned that you would let yourself go if we got married." He was extremely hypocritical. For example, he would respond jealously and suspiciously if I ever talked to another guy, while he had multiple close female friends, some of whom he admitted to having feelings for and actually dated in the past. He would say that I was being creepy and a stalker when I would add mutual female friends on Facebook. He would always find reasons to call me a liar or prove that I was untrustworthy. I often felt like he would purposely trap me and find insignificant details in my story to prove that I was trying to hide something. He would always point out when there was an attractive woman in a movie or in public when we were together and make me feel unattractive and insecure. He would always, every time we broke up was because he made it seem like it was my fault or there was something wrong with me, only because he knew I would apologize, whether I'd actually done anything wrong or not, and beg him to take me back and give me another chance. In fact, the last conversation we had, he called me a habitual liar, creepy, and said that I needed serious help and a therapist. Whenever he would say that I lied to him, he would always say, "Figure it out. If you don't know what you did, you obviously don't know me at all." I never knew how he felt about me, and I was insecure for the entire relationship. That is Kendall's story. Let me just say this, because there's a lot of key figures or key things in here to take note of. And one thing she admitted was that this person had her only as a shadow of her former self because she had lost her self-confidence. And one thing abusers want to do is they want to have you not have any confidence within yourself. They only want you to see yourself through their distorted eyes. And so therefore he would test the waters with her, she said at first, by making a hurtful joke. And when someone does something to intentionally try to hurt you, it is something wrong with that particular person. And that is a red flag right there. When you try to do things to hurt someone else to make yourself feel good, that says more about you than that other person. Okay? So him trying to hurt her is like by making comments about her body, saying that he was worried that she was gonna let herself go if they got married. That was a sign right there to say, don't marry this particular individual, because this person is not marriage material. Basically, he's letting you know he's going to cheat on you. If you ever even got pregnant and gained weight or whatever, and then he felt that you was out of his comfort zone, that means he was going to the next best thing. Let me let you know something else in this particular story that lets you know that he was going to cheat on her, or probably had already been doing it. When he would make comments about other women that he either saw in the movie or was out in public, he was trying to do something to make her feel bad about herself, because at the end of the abuser, they don't feel good about themselves, so therefore they want to tear somebody else down in order to make themselves feel better about themselves. This is not healthy at all. He didn't want her to have friends or mutual friends, but then he would accuse her of being jealous or stalking. But he could have all the friends that he wanted. Hypocrisy, as she mentioned. Everything was her fault. And see, this is one of the things that when you're dealing with an abuser or narcissistic person is that they will always shift the blame. They will never take responsibility, as we always say on this podcast. They never take responsibility for the things that they do wrong in the relationship or their actions. It will always be your fault. And in this particular situation, he wanted her to not, he didn't want to tell her what it was that she was supposed to be at fault for. He wanted her to try to figure it out because they want to keep you on the edge. They want to keep you on walking on eggshells, whereas they have that control over you. And let me just say this. You can free yourself. You don't have to allow someone to make you feel as if you're always doing something wrong, because that's what they do. They do that in order to control you, to manipulate you, to make you feel as if you're never meeting up. And when you're dealing with an abuser or narcissistic person, you would never meet up to whatever the expectation is because they never want you to. It's always meant to make you feel as if you have to meet up to their expectation, but they never have a bar low enough for you to be able to cross over, and they always make it high enough to make it impossible for you to reach, because it's never meant to be reached. So therefore, you feel like you're having whiplash because you never know on any given day what kind of bag they're going to come out of, or if you're doing anything good enough in the relationship, because in their eyes you're never good enough in this relationship. It's always expected more and more and more and more is expected out of you, but you're never able to meet up. Be careful of these types of relationships. This was Kendall's story. Don't let it be yours. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Your face is beaming. You say it's 'cause you're dreaming of how good it's going to be. You say you've been around, and now you finally found everything you wanted and needed in me. I don't have the heart to hurt you. It's the last thing I wanna do, but I don't have the heart to love you, not the way you want me to. Inside I'm dying,
have the heart, and that is by James Ingram. I don't have the heart to hurt you. And no one in their right mind should want to hurt anyone. No one should want to be hurt or to hurt anyone. You know, it's sad that there are so many hurting people that are hurt by people who want to hurt them. And you may say, what do they get out of this? And just some people are just that way. They're what I would call, I guess, sadistic. They just want to hurt others. But you don't have to be the victim of it. This is the last story that I'm going to read today. Rita's story of abuse. I was primed for spousal abuse by an abusive mother for whom I was never good enough, and by a church that cast me as an inherently bad person, a sinner. The spousal abuse worsened over many years until I thought I was losing my mind. It was truly crazy making. For a long time, I didn't care whether I lived or died. I looked on a website about post-traumatic stress disorder and came to realize that I had many of the symptoms. PTSD can be caused by chronic long-term stress, such as that being caused by verbally or emotionally abusive relationships. I used to think that I was the cause of all the problems because he made me so confused and because I couldn't believe anyone could behave in the way he did. I used to think if only I hadn't said that, or if only I had chosen a better time, or if only I had used a different tone of voice. I was constantly on the alert, trying to anticipate and so avoid the next outburst. It was like there was a second me, watching the other one all the time to make sure she didn't slip up. What kind of a life is that? I know he had difficulties in his childhood, and I tried to make allowances for that, but he is an adult and can make choices about his behavior. I had difficulties in my childhood too, but it didn't cause me to put them on him. Once I woke up to what was happening and set boundaries and refused to respond in the ways he came to expect, his behavior changed. I changed my response and I reflected his behavior back to him so he would know how it felt. I felt uncomfortable doing that, but it was effective. He can still be abusive at times, but much less often, and I stay because, for a number of reasons, it would be difficult for me to leave. I feel better now that I know I am not crazy, and I am not the cause of the problem. He is the one responsible. I have my boundaries intact, and my self-esteem, which was previously completely absent, is now much better. It's not perfect, it's not good, but it's the best I can hope for now. If ever I doubt myself, and now I ask myself two questions. Would a friend treat me in that way? Would I behave in that way to another person? If the answer is no to either, then I know that the difficulty is of his making. Sadly, my adult daughter is emotionally and verbally abusive to me in much the same way as her father was. I am finding this impossible to deal with. She leaves me weeping and emotionally shredded for weeks after a visit. Calls me a drama queen when I get upset, tells me I am not normal, that I don't know how to behave appropriately. I would restrict visits, but she is the mother of my grandchildren. I have been researching ways of dealing with this, but have found no resources. I cannot be the only person dealing with this problem. I have tried setting boundaries like I did with my husband, but it just makes her behavior worse. After my last visit at Christmas, she told dreadful lies about me to her husband, her father, her brother, who has caused me huge problems with all of them because they believed her and not me. I am shocked at how long it took me to realize she is abusive. It followed the same pattern as it did with her father. I believed her when she said it was the cause of the difficulties. She tied me in knots just like he did. when you think that I'd not make the same mistake twice? So this is Rita's story where she has an abusive husband, okay? And it doesn't seem like it's physically abusive, but it's emotionally abusive, and it's still harmful. Don't allow anyone to diminish your abusive experience just because it wasn't a black eye or a broken bone or landed you in the morgue. Emotional abuse is still abuse. And she set boundaries, setting boundaries, and so therefore the abuse has somewhat subsided with her husband. But then she's dealing with it from her daughter. And let me just say this. Oftentimes when you have been in an abusive relationship and you have children, the children will either, in most cases, they will either be the abuser or they will be the recipient of the abuse or both at the same time. So it seems that her daughter may have taken on the characteristics of the abuse from that was given to her mother. She saw her mother go through the abuse, and she has become like the father from this particular story. The thing is, the mother doesn't know what to do about it because she loves her grandchildren, but she's dealing with abuse every time she sees her grandchildren, and from the daughter. So she doesn't know exactly what to do. And let me just say this is something that she has to decide, but she would benefit from going to counseling. And if you're in a similar situation, please get some therapy, get some help. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It is helping you to have someone to help you navigate through the storm that you are dealing with. Another thing is, if you are dealing with a child that is abusive, and you might say, I love my grandchildren, but at the same time, you have to make this decision to say that I may love my grandchildren, but I will not take abuse. And the only way to stop the abuse from being the recipient of it, even when it's your child, is to still put the boundaries and say, even if it means that I'm going to have limited visitation with my grandchildren, I will not allow you to come in my house and abuse me. Abuse, there's never an excuse for abuse. You choose to abuse others. You choose to hit someone. You choose to be verbally abusive. You choose to be emotionally abusive, spiritually abusive, financially abusive. Those are choices. See, the thing is that everyone may have gone through something in their life, but it doesn't give you the right to be abusive to someone else. Okay, you may have gone through abuse yourself as a child, but does that give you the right to do it to someone else? So a lot of times victims of abuse, they make excuses for the abuser. They say, oh, they went through this and they went through that, and you make allowances, as she said in her story here, that she made allowances for the abuse that her husband had gone through. But that is not a reason to abuse anyone, or a reason for you to have to accept abuse just because you're empathizing. We talked not too long ago about an empath. Because you have empathy for the other person, yes, you can have empathy, but it does not excuse them abusing you. And it's okay to say, you know what, I'm not going to take this abuse. You don't have to take it, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a family member, a child, whoever. You do not have to be abused. It does not make you any less of a person because you stand up for your rights, your human rights, to be treated with dignity and respect. That was Rita's story. And if any of you are dealing with her same story, I pray that you will know that you are not alone, and that you don't have to be hurt by anyone.
For you, I'd give a life 'Cause this life is no good alone. Since we've become one, I made a change, and everything I do now makes sense. All roads end, all I do is for you. For you I share the cup of love that overflows, and anyone who knows us knows I would change all thoughts I have for you. There is no low or high or in between of my heart that you haven't seen. 'Cause I share all I have and am. Nothing I've said is hard to understand. All I feel deeper still, and always will. All this love is for you. Every note that I play, every word I might say, every melody I feel are only for you and your appeal. Every page that I write, every day of my life would not be filled without the things that my love for you now brings. For you I make a promise of fidelity, now and for eternity. No one could replace this love for you. I take your hand and heart and everything, and add to them a wedding ring. 'Cause this life is no good alone. Since we've become one, you're all I know. If this feeling should leave, I die. And here's why: all I am is for you. Everything I do now makes sense. All roads end, all I do is for you. Only for you.
For You, and that is by Kenny Lattimore. And let me just say this: when someone actually loves you, they're going to do things for you. That means they're going to treat you right. I'm not talking about buy stuff. Anybody can buy stuff. Okay, I'm talking about treating you with dignity and respect and loving you the way that you deserve to be loved. And let me just say this: before you get into another relationship with someone, if you have been wounded, don't go into that relationship with those bags. Okay, don't go into that relationship with those bags that you are carrying. Make sure you get healed first, so that you won't go into a relationship that may be abusive again. All right? Because a lot of times hurt people are magnets for abusers. And they may act as if they empathize with what you've gone through and everything, but then you don't know underneath that you're about to get the same type of behavior, the same type of treatment, the same type of disrespect, disloyalty, and all those things that go into the nasty arsenal of the abuser. You're gonna get that again, but then they will have the weapon they need in order to know what you went through before, and they're gonna be that much worse. Know that you deserve love, and know that you deserve first to love yourself. First from God, know His love, and then know the love that God has for you. All right. We are up out of here. I pray that today's podcast has been a blessing to you and that you would know, guess what? Your feelings, they do matter. This is Dr. K.O. Rich with Narc Abuse No More, helping you to admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse. Until next time.